Today I'm out at Rosewall Creek Provincial Park. There's supposed to be a really nice waterfall here, so you won't want to miss this one. One thing I love about living on Vancouver Island is you get to walk amongst these giant trees and behind me here. And it's always so green. All year round, you get this beautiful moss and lush green all over the trees. It's actually a pretty good hike. Didn't realize how far it was from the parking lot. And check out this giant tree behind me here. There's a massive tree that got uprooted and fell right across the river. So I got my phone set up on the tripod now, and I got a composition locked up, the shot that I want. I was using the rule of thirds in this section, just to try to line up the crosshairs. You can see that the shot's kind of blowing out right now, and that's because I've got it set on pro mode and the shutter speed set way too high, but I'm just grabbing the lens, cleaning it off. Now I got the ND filter I'm going to use. I've stacked the filters, and I put a ND64 on there with a circular polarizer. And what I'm doing, I'm just putting the filter over top of the lens and playing with that circular polarizer and just turning it to activate it. So you can see, if you take a close look at the rapids there, where all of a sudden you can see the water starting to not look so reflective. And so once I got it to the point where it wasn't reflective, turned it to the pro mode, and now I'm just playing with the manual focus, set it to affinity because this is a very long shot. And now I'm just testing the shutter speed, getting it slow enough but not too slow to get that silky white smooth look in the waterfalls. Now I had to play around with a lot on this one. I think, I was really testing the limits of the phone camera. The waterfall was a really long distance away, so I kept playing around with the ISO and the shutter speeds. In combination of the two to get the best shot that I wanted. A lot of shots were either too dark that I didn't think I could bring up in post, and then some were just too bright. So again, here playing with the shutter speed. I kept playing around between like 1/8 to 0.3. The 0.5 was just too much. You know, finally, like I do take a lot of photos, especially when I'm taking waterfall shots. Just playing around, going back and forth between the ISO and the shutter speed. You do have the capabilities of photo stacking in a desktop software like Lightroom or Photoshop, but I do all of my photo editing on my phone. So I have found a way to stack photos in the app called Snapseed, but I'd rather just take one photo and just editing the one. And what I mean by stacking photos is you take a shot that's a little underexposed, so you get the waterfall just the way you want it, and then which means the surrounding area is going to be underexposed, too dark. Then I take another photo that the surrounding scenery is perfectly exposed, but yet the waterfall is going to be blown out. And what you do is you stack those two pictures on top of each other and you blend them together to get one good exposure. So I kept playing around, and what I came out of there with was a couple of really good shots, and I'll show you here in a second. But just remember, take a whole bunch of photos. But this is what I ended up with. Just hiking back from the falls. I would say it's the first time I've been there, and I was pretty impressed. I can't believe I've never been here before. It's, like I said, it's in Rosewall Creek Provincial Park here in Vancouver Island. It's mid-Vancouver Island. And you park at the parking lot, and it's a hike in. Probably at least half an hour, 45-minute hike from the parking lot. One thing I want to mention that you'll notice in my videos is I use the ND filters quite a bit. And you know, essentially these ND filters are sunglasses for your phone camera. What it does is it cuts the amount of light that hits the sensor in your camera. And what that does, the benefits of that is that you can slow that shutter speed down. And when you're shooting waterfalls and rivers, even skies sometimes with clouds, you want to slow that shutter speed down, and you get that white, silky, smooth look that you see a lot of people posting in my waterfall pictures. In the wintertime, the one I was using the most was actually, I think it was a ND6, and it did 1.8 stops of light, which was pretty sufficient in the wintertime when there isn't a lot of natural light. But now that spring's hit and we get some sunnier days, I'm definitely had to switch to a higher f-stop filter. So I recently bought another kit, and you can find the link in the description below, but it's a Go filter kit, and it came with an ND8, a 64, and a 1000. So I think it gives me a 3-stop, a 5-stop, and all the way up to a 10-stop filter. So what I'm noticing lately is I'm using the ND64, which I think is the 5-stop, and it's allowing me to still get that, 0.3 to up to 1 second shutter speed that gives me that really nice silky smooth water. I'll do a whole separate video on ND filters and go through them, but I just wanted to mention that in case you want to do what I do and you're getting into phone photography, and especially when you're shooting water. The other filter I use quite a bit is a circular polarizer. And if you think about it again like sunglasses, what the polarizer does, it cuts out any glare. So when you get any reflections coming back, so when you look at a body of water, whether it's a lake, a river, or in the ocean, and when the light hits that body of water, it reflects off and you can't see what's in underneath. So when you put that polarizer on and you turn it and activate it on your lens, it cuts out all the glare coming off that water, so you can actually see through the water. So when I'm using the 58mm moment lens and stacking filters and I'm shooting waterfalls, that's when I put that polarizer on, and it helps cut out that glare and makes the water look totally clear. The other reason why you might want to use a polarizer is if you're shooting in the woodlands here in the forest, and here where I am in Vancouver Island, we get a lot of rain, a lot of moisture. So if I'm shooting ferns or plants or leaves, chances are there's going to be a lot of water on there, on the foliage, and it reflects back. And what you can do is you can put that polarizer and turn it to activates to the right amount of reflection that you want, or no reflection, and it'll cut right through that glare. It also works well for blue skies. It'll make your sky look bluer. Greens will look greener. Well, we're getting close to the parking lot. I'm gonna see if there's one more photo that I can find. But if not, I guess we'll start wrapping this up. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you got anything out of this video or you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a like. Leave me a comment below if you're just getting into phone photography or you're an expert and you want to see something on my channel. If you want me to do a review on a product or talk about any kind of tips and tricks, if you got a question about phone photography, we can go on this journey together. I got into this about 6 months ago, and there's just so much to learn. But I tell you, the more and more I get into it, the more I love it. I think I found my last composition here behind me. Right in behind me, there's a couple trees that are framed up through the path. So I'm going to take a picture there and call it a day. Again, thanks so much for watching. See you next time.
When the stars glow bright, the summer's old. In the misty bright moonlight I were told. When the storm is raging in your head,